Hello, this is Mrs. Langmeyer again, and we are preparing now for your second Nutricalc project. And this time it's going to be a diabetic meal plan. This is where you are going to be applying everything you've learned in this semester to date. If you've just been breezing through, you're doing good, I guess. You may need to go back and relook some things up. Again, starting with my family, we've added 2 new babies to this picture, so we need to get an updated picture. But we are now on to the calculations and meal improvement menu for a diabetic. Again, you will need to be using Nutricalc to get this project done. So you're going to be looking at a patient. His name is Greg, and right now his intake of foods is about 2,660 calories a day. That's too much. And we want him to lose roughly 2 pounds a week. And we're going to do this in a way that we're going to reduce 500 calories per day. And if you remember, there are 3,500 calories in a pound. So we take 3,500 calories divided by 7 days in a week, you get 500 calories. So we're going to take the 500 calories out of his daily intake. And then we're also going to introduce some exercise. So if we give him 500 calories of exercise and do that every day times 7 days, he will burn 3,500 calories. So he'll lose an additional pound. So 1 pound through exercise and 1 pound through reducing his intake, equaling 2 pounds. That's how we get that. So we're going to first take out 500 calories per day. And this assignment is on your Canvas. So that gives us 2,180 food calories per day. And that's what you're going to feed him. So that's going to be your first assignment. You might want to make a note, no more than 2,180. But don't dip it down so low because this is a guy who's used to eating. And if it's not realistic, he's not going to follow it. So if you dip it down to 1,500 calories, that's not going to work. He's not going to stick to it, and you won't get your points for your assignment. So keeping it around 2,100 calories. Now, carbs should be about 50% of your food intake, we've learned. So we will take half of those 2,160, divide it by 2, and that will give you the amount of calories of food from carbohydrates only. So that's the amount of daily intake must equal the carbohydrates. Okay? So that is 1,080 calories are going to come from carbohydrates. So when you are planning your intake of foods, you want it to be about that amount. Okay? The other thing we have to do is equally space those carbs throughout the day because he's a diabetic. It can't be riding a roller coaster where you've got like 90 in one meal and then it dips down to 15 in the next meal. His insulin can't regulate that, so it has to be spaced evenly. So, and a diabetic can't just do 3 meals a day. They have to have 3 meals and a couple snacks. So for each meal, will be a little bit more carbohydrates than a snack. In a meal portion, we're going to divide the 1,080 calories of carbs. A carb exchange in a diabetic world is 15 grams. Each exchange equals 15 grams. So if he can have 15 grams per carb exchange, and he gets 4 exchanges. So each meal can be about 60 grams. Write that down. Each meal is 60 grams. So his total grams of carbs only is 60 per meal. Now for snacks are about half of the amount of a regular meal. So for each snack, which he gets 2 of those, can be between 30 and 45 grams total. So you've got 3 meals. Each meal is 60 grams of carbs, no more than that, and 2 snacks, and each snack is between 30 to 45 grams. That will give him a steady amount of carbohydrates to the day. So now you're going to use the Nutricalc, and you're keeping that in mind. you are going to plan your meals. Now, again, you need to go meal by meal, not just plugging all these foods in. Make sure you remember to choose that you are planning these foods, and that's going to be the breakfast, and then you choose some other foods, and that's going to be a snack one, and then you choose some other foods, and that's going to be a dinner. If you don't isolate those and tell me which meal it is, it's going to put them all under one big chunk for the day. I'll have no idea which meal is which, and that's not going to help him out. So you've got to identify that on the Nutricalc. Okay, so again, under this section, you're reading. The total day of calories is no more than 2,160. Oops. That's for the whole day's food. And of that, no more than 270 grams of carbs. That's taking the 60 grams for each meal and adding your snacks, equaling no more than 270 grams of carbs for the total day. And again, you cannot dip below 45 carbs for a meal, and you cannot dip below 25 carbs for a snack. Okay, I would try to keep your hardest, try to keep those at about 60 a meal and about 40-ish for each snack. Don't choose a whole 90 for a one meal and then think, oh, now I can't have very many for the next, so I dip way down. It's got to be even, okay? Or his glucose is going to drop. Okay, we don't want any less than 2,000 calories per day. No less than 2,000 calories per day, because we are going to have him exercising. Okay, so we're going to make some exercises. Okay, your rubric, how we're going to be grading this. I'm going to be looking at each meal. And again, you are going to be sending me these reports. So I'll be able to see this was breakfast. And under your breakfast carbs, count needs to be between 50 and 65. That equals the 4 exchanges he needs. And each breakfast, I'm looking also that you're including the My Plate. And My Plate has to include for breakfast, because that's a little harder to include maybe a vegetable, but you have to have at least 3 food groups in your breakfast. Your snack then is between 30 to 45 grams of carbs, 3 exchanges, and at least 2 food groups. Then your lunch, I'm going to look at what your lunch foods were, between 50 and 70. And those are going to have at least 5 of the food groups. Okay, so they need to have fruits, vegetables, grain, protein, and dairy. Snack 2, you're going to have to include a snack 2 because he can't go between lunch and supper. That's too many hours. Glucose dips too far. That's going to be between 30 and 45 grams. And a snack needs to have at least 2 food groups. And then he's going to have a dinner carb. That's just a meal that has 4 to 5 exchanges, so between 60 and 75 carbs total, and again 5 food groups. So the full day, when I look at the full day's report, you will have about 2160 calories, and the carb count is half of those calories, which is 270 carbs. Okay, you are going to send me the information. You're going to email me your findings, or if you can find a spot to submit it through a Dropbox, please do that as well. But again, I need to know I know you're all in 1220 DTN, which section, 900, 901, 902, 93, 94, or 905. So you need to tell me that. And I need to have that breakdown of your meals. So the reports you're going to email me, and that's under all of that sheet that I just pulled up. That is when you click this, you will see that report that you just saw. And the 3 reports that you are going to attach and send to me are the spreadsheet of all your foods, okay, the all daily report, which is one of your choices, and the nutrition fact report. So spreadsheet, all daily report, and nutrition fact. That will show me all your foods that you have broken down meal by meal, which I've got to see. Your total days breakdown, that'll give me the total, and then the nutrition fact that kind of looks like a food label that shows me you've got all that done. Okay, that is got a due date, so I'm not going to accept that late. And again, that is using the Nutricalc. When you're planning carbohydrates, remember meats don't contain a lot of carbohydrates. So if you are needing to reduce some carbohydrates, you might want to include some meats. This is a chart from some basic carb counting that shows you some of each of these foods contains one exchange of carbohydrates, which is 15 carbs. So these give you some basics that will show you. Some are going to be higher than others, but you're going to have to plan your meal. And then when you see, whoa, that lunch is higher than 60 or 75 carbs that I'm trying to keep within that parameter, get rid of something and add something out. The goal is not to keep it with very, very, very low carbs. Okay, I give you the amount of carbs you have to keep, because if he dips down too low, he could go into a stroke or a coma from not having enough carbohydrates. So having zero carbs is not what we're going for. We are going for regulated numbers, and half of all the calories of your meal should come from carbohydrates. That's why I'm not a proponent of no carb or extremely low carb meals. So that's the information. Don't email me until you've looked over this and listened to this time and time again, and just make sure I get the information. This will take you some time. This is not a 5-minute project. This will take you probably an hour to 2 to do. So don't get frustrated and say, I can't get it to figure out. Yes, you can. You'll appreciate the job of a dietitian. This is why it's hard for someone who has had no nutrition class and then finds out that they are a diabetic. Imagine how difficult this is for them. So you're going to have to do some work. This will help you be able to deal with family members or a patient that might find out they're diabetic and be falling apart, that you can help them. So much success, and I will look forward to your assignments.